Stop saying, I can't afford it, or stop saying, I shouldn't be spending that. And instead thinking about like, how can I create money for this? Welcome to the Moms Makin Dough podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Hewitt, and today's episode of Moms Makin Dough, we're going to revisit, I should say, just tending to what I call tilling the weeds of your money mindset. So, if you've been with me for a while, thank you, first of all. And if you're new here, I spent the whole summer doing a series called Summer School, where we started to figure out and plant seeds for what you wanted to harvest in the fall in your business and your finances as well. So today we're going to kind of pick up with that fall harvest metaphor because I feel like it's so appropriate because I love to think about it this way is like you cannot plant fresh and new seeds. Why would you want to? In a garden full of weeds. You have to till soil or like till your garden. And the same goes for your money mindset. So today we're going to cover one of the foundational principles that we teach here at Moms Making Dough, which is your mindset is the foundation on which we build upon. So the four facets of Moms Making Dough is we teach you the how to make, manage, multiply, and change and or reframe your mindset when it comes to money. So those are our 4 M's. But the foundation is always going to be mindset. You can have the best strategy, the best tactics in the world, but if your mindset is in need of a refresh or pulling some weeds, like I was saying before, then you won't get very far with planting new seeds if you haven't tended to the weeds that need to be extracted for you to be able to have the most fertile soil on which your new seeds can grow. So we're coming up on Q3, and I always, when I'm planning my content and what I'm going to cover this month, I always kind of look at themes of what's coming up with my one-on-one clients or even some of the groups I'm running. And I feel like harvest season is such a great metaphor for not only your life, but your business. Because, like I said, pulling out these weeds, they start to sprout. And the sooner we can get them cleaned up, the more fruitful your harvest will be. So, I want to kind of introduce this concept today of something that is definitely not a concept I came up with, and just really starting to think about money as energy. It's always moving, it's never stagnant. It's like Einstein's law of energy transformation, meaning that energy can not be created or destroyed, it can only be transformed or changed in its form. And I want to really think about like clearing financial weeds before you plant your seeds this next final fourth quarter going into the end of the year. And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people start to look at their weeds after they have done their taxes. And we're also coming up, like if you filed a business extension or a personal extension, those dates are coming up. So I thought this was a really appropriate episode for us to start to look at and build some awareness about like, hey, what are some of the weeds that have started to sprout? And back to the money as energy as concept, because that's what money is. It is just energy. And I like to think about this. I did this on my last episode because I love to ride horses. That is one of my biggest passions. It is one of my places that I just really go to reset and refresh. And I always have some breakthroughs when I think about it. And I was thinking about when I was preparing for this episode, I was thinking about like energy, money and energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only transform. And I started to have this theme come up with some of my clients. And it also started to make me think about just even riding a horse in general. And there's three things that you can do with energy. It doesn't matter if you're riding a horse, looking at your money, or just like general physics, right? And those are the three things we're going to talk about today. And the money the three things you can do is you can contain it. This is setting boundaries. This is setting a structure or a frame. This is building awareness. When it comes to your money, it's really stopping financial leaks, meaning you're trying to contain it before it all leaks out of your account. And then the second thing that you can do is you can increase it. You can add habits that create momentum. You can add habits that create more income for you. You can add habits that increase your storehouse or your savings rates. This is same thing on a horse. You can either contain its energy and bring it back into a frame, and or you can increase it and allow it to use energy to move forward. And then the third thing is going to be you can manage energy. So this is when you are setting a tempo, you're setting the tone, you are staying balanced, you are making corrections, but then staying still. You are keeping the ride as rhythmical as possible, I guess is the word. And when it comes to either your business or finances, this is where, like, when I think about managing it, I think about maintaining, I think about overcoming and reordering chaos that's in your business and really avoiding burnout when it comes to, like I said, your both your money and your business. And the one of the things that I like to like I want you to get into your head today, and this is how I'm going to teach it, is something like I said, I've been talking with a lot of clients in in different capacities, different issues, challenges, detours that are coming up for them. And we've got in this habit of, like, beyond containing it, increasing it, or managing it, you can clear it, transform it, or manage it, right? So clear it, like clearing out, I feel like I think about like almost clearing a lot or clearing debris for you to add a new level of organization or even creation. And creation brings us to transform it. This is where you take what you have and you transform it into something new, something better, something where you're increasing that energy. And then the final one is going to be manage it, which we already talked about. But this is where I really start to think, like, when I look at my money, what are some of the ways as we get to, like I said, the end of a quarter that I need to clear some of my financial beliefs, pull those weeds that are keeping me stuck? Where are some of the areas of my money that I need to transform it, where I need to create energy or create momentum, increase it? And then when I manage it, where are some of the areas that I've done pretty well in, like, maintaining it? Maybe I have a system or a routine for it, but I could make some tweaks, some course corrections that would allow me to feel even more empowered with my money and my finances. In not just my business, in my life in general. And there so that's what we're gonna break down today is like, let's put this in action. Is like, what does it look like to clear it? What does it look like to transform your relationship with money? And then what does it look like to manage your current relationship with money of the things that may be working or just maybe need some slight tweaks? So, I started this process and I never teach an episode that I haven't, like, kind of worked through myself. And I was like, listen, you're going to do a financial money review. And I have a system that I use for this that I've created, that I do teach to a lot of people. I've taught on other episodes. Um, and I am just going to kind of simplify it today and kind of give you more an overview. Um, to get you thinking on how you personally can clear it, transform it, and manage the energy of your money in not only your business, but your life. So I like the concept here of thinking about it in the form of addition and subtraction. So the first step here is going to be just like really identifying and building awareness on where you currently at. Now, what I find is that this exercise I'm going to go through is probably going to be something, whether you're listening to this driving, walking your dog, feeding your kids dinner. I want you to just kind of start reflecting on it. But then I highly encourage you, there's going to be a template with this episode, which there typically is, where I'm going to give you just like a little worksheet that you can work through, that I highly encourage you to do when you are not actively listening to this episode. And if you have to need to, If you need to go back to reflect on this episode, you are more than welcome to do that as well. So let's talk about what it looks like to clear it. This is the mindset behind clearing it is going to be removing what drains your financial energy. So we want to focus on the habits that we want to subtract first, the things we need to, AKA, stop doing. And this is where I do this again in my business constantly. And I just did this, like I said, as a financial checkup for my personal finances. And man, when I sat down there with a piece of paper and I just really thought, like tuned in, got quiet of the things that I needed to remove and stop doing, it was very, very clear. One of the things, auto cancel unused subscriptions. Like I looked at my statement from last month, which I always talk about this exercise, the statement audit. I will find out what episode I go through that is. But this is looking at unused subscriptions in both your business, if you're an entrepreneur, and or your personal finances. I went through and I found four, four that I totally forgot, have not been using, and it was a couple $100, but it's a couple $100 that I've been spending that I don't need to be spending. So those are some of the things that I'm going to remove and I'm going to clear, and they're actually pretty damn easy to do. There's a lot of people that have apps now that like can do this for you. Which is crazy to me. I personally like the personal touch of like, hey, am I doing this? Or if you are a Marie Kondo fan, which I have not revisited her stuff in a long time, but one of the Marie Kondo, she's like an expert professional organizer. And one of the things that she talks about is like one of her strategies is taking out all your clothes, laying them all on your bed so you see them all out in front of you. Um, the, like, correlation would be looking at your statement, your full statement, not just, like, kinda guessing, like, "Hey, let me look at, like, what ran this month," right? Looking at your full either your credit card or your bank statement, preferably both, and saying, like, "Hey, what are things that are on here that I either have not used?" So, in Marie Kondo method, it's usually, like, "What are things that I have not worn?" And you give yourself a boundary, right? Something that you can help contain the energy on, right? So you'll give a boundary and say, like, listen, if I haven't worn it in a year, then it's going to go in the I'll get rid of pile. And then the second part of her kind of strategy, which always sticks to me, I have no idea why this is coming up as my example right now, but I'm going to roll with it, is she talks about like, does it spark joy? So she has you, we'll stick with the clothes metaphor. She has you pick up each pair, like shirts. Let's say you're going through your shirts. And so your first boundary is, hey, have I worn this in the last year? If the answer is yes, then I put it in one pile. If the answer is no, I put it in a different pile. And the second part is that, like, she has you lift up the yes pile, and she's like, "Does it spark joy? Does it give you joy? Like, are you excited to put this on?" Right? And I always think about this because it's like, same thing with auto subscriptions. Like, if you look at your auto subscriptions and you're like, "Oh, I," if the first rule is, "Hey, I haven't used this in the last 3 months," then it goes into the cancel subscription. But maybe it's something that you actually paid for and you don't want to cancel. You want to get back to it because it's something that you are going to use in the future, and or it's something that brings you joy. Maybe it's a meditation app that you just haven't had time to do it. Um Maybe it's something that you need to work back into your routine, so it sparks joy for you, so you still wanna retain it. But maybe you could downgrade. Maybe it's like you don't need the premier level app. Maybe you don't need the $100 version. Maybe you could get away with the $20, a year version. This is super easy to do on your iPhone too, with like just looking at the apps you're subscribed to, and just literally, this is what I did is I just like clicked off 3 or 4 of them that I just have noticed I do not use at all. They're just kind of sitting on there and I don't need to be paying for them. So, um, and then another thing with Clear It that I have set with myself is setting no spend days each week. So, this is super easy to do, especially when you have kids, especially when you have a business. Is like days where you're not going to just do impulse spending or just be like, or you're not going to look at online shopping because you don't need anything. And this is once you start this habit, man, it's life changing because you realize when you start to pay attention and build awareness is that if you start, first of all, you start realizing how much money you bleed without thinking about it. So this is one of my clear it habits is that I set no spend days, right? Because I know that typically when am I going to spend more money? Probably on the weekends, right? And so I want to start looking at those trends and set those days. Stop checking your bank account in panic mode. Like switch to weekly intentional money dates. Remember, I said when I started this episode, that's one of the first things I did when it comes to clear it is I have a financial date with myself every Friday. But here's what I've noticed. I've stopped doing that with the summer routine, right? Or the lack of summer routine. Usually I have Calm Financial Fridays. I talk about them all the time. Is that that's my personal money date. And before the weekend, when I know I tend to spend more money, I do a check-in. It's like, "Hey, what did I spend in last week, and what do I need to pre-plan spending on for next week so that I don't go off the rails just at Home Goods or, like, whatever it is, buying supplements that I wanna try or buying new makeup or face creams, whatever it is that, kind of gets you going. And then I wanna talk about, like, in clearing, what are the habits that I wanna add? How about maybe I start tracking for a week, just like I would track food if I wanted to lose weight, is like, what did I spend? What am I averaging and spending in a week? Maybe that's part of my Financial Friday check-in. Maybe it's scheduling my Financially Friday check-in. Maybe it's unsubscribing from marketing emails that not only are filling up my email box, but maybe they are actually just beyond littering my email box, I impulsively spend on them. They are things that like I'm like, "Oh, 20% off on, OG face cream? Great. I don't really need that right now, but I'll take the 20% off." And next thing I know, I spent 200 bucks. So it's like just being really cautious. Those are some of the habits or the boundaries I'm going to set in order for me to clear some of my money stuff in order to create space to plant something new. And then the next step is going to be transforming it. This is shifting my energy towards growth when it comes to my finances. So, some of the habits when I look at transform it, stop saying I can't afford it, or stop saying I shouldn't be spending that. And instead thinking about like, how can I create money for this? And or one of the sayings I've been teaching with a lot of my clients that really has transformed me over this summer is just like saying the saying like I am fully provided for. And when I first started saying that, that mantra became it meant more financially. But now I'm starting to say it in speak it over every area of my life. So just really being careful here on transform it is like reframing some of my common phases. And catching myself when I'm saying, "Oh, I shouldn't be spending this." And instead of spending it and saying, "What if it's gone?" Just leaving with faith and maybe sleeping on the decision instead of buying the random, mattress cover or random new Halloween decoration that my daughter wants, right? Um, Going through my stuff before I go shopping or tempt myself. And then just like kind of thinking like not buying two of one thing because it's on sale, it's buy two, get one, right? Like just little things like this, like little shifts that will transform and free my energy. Also, transformation means once you have that awareness is that you got to quit avoiding your numbers. So this comes back down to for me right now is that like I said with my summer schedule I have missed a lot of my financial Fridays because I was on fun mode on Fridays. Especially when my daughter was not in school. This is her first full week of school. You better bet that I have my financial Friday planned in my planner, um, blocked out as an hour of an appointment with myself on this Friday to get back into that routine. Because I last Friday I had the opportunity, she had a half day and that should have been on my schedule, but I just avoided it because I didn't I it was so much more hard for me to get back into the routine. So I just know it's something I need to add. And then, add habits. That brings me to add habits for transforming your energy when it comes to money. Maybe you invest in a financial education book or course. I'm reading a really good book right now. I don't know what it's called actually. I think it's called something about building your storehouses, and it's a biblical it's a book about biblical meanings and money, which is something I'm really interested in, because I think there's a lot of conflicting beliefs when it comes to the Bible and money. And I really want to start to work through some of those things, and start to understand more of that. And it's about building storehouses and about how God is abundant in his thinking, and so should we be. And he always has storehouses and extra for, like, as my grandmother used to say, to save for a rainy day. So what does that look like? What does that habit have to become? And I've really started to, by reading this book, start to really think more strategically about how I am saving for certain things. And brings me to the habit I'm adding. I'm setting up automatic savings plans, and transfers for money, multiple of my accounts. So I have them set up for multiple, like our businesses, what I call a vault account. But there's definitely some movement in my personal finances since we just bought another property, and I need to set these things up from day one. And then next thing is that add habit when I'm just, like I said, transforming energy, shifting my energy towards growth when it comes to my finances in both my business and my life is I am looking at adding a different income stream. So I have multiple income streams right now, but I'm working on implementing the one from our rental property. So I'm getting that set up and what has to happen for that to be done, and that was my target from last quarter. But this quarter, it is going to be about in Q4, what is a new income stream I want to entertain? And I already have three or four ideas that I need to look in and do the research on. So that would be an ad habit for me. If you own a business, it might be adding a new service or making a new offer that you might start packaging. And then finally, when it comes to managing it, so that's the third. So you either can clear energy, transform energy, or manage it. This is where we want to stay consistent and intentional with the destination we're heading for. This is where my subtract habit was stop relying on memory and I need to use tools and apps for tracking. And again, this is something that I don't do. I am very old school in terms of like I love to use Excel, Google Docs. And but there's been times like for example, this month with the purchase of the new property, there's been money I have spent that needs to be captured for tax purposes that I am now having to catch up on because I didn't do it in my Financial Friday meeting. So when it comes to managing it, this was my first addition is that I have to add an additional part of my Financial Friday just for the property to catch up on this property, on what needs to be accounted for and get an idea of like what it's going to cost for me to manage this property, but also what has to happen when it comes to the rental rates. And then, maybe some of your ad habits here when it comes to management is maybe you need to have a monthly money review with your partner, meaning your business partner or your family, just on how you're spending money. This is one thing that is on my list this month from doing this exercise. Again, something that my husband and I have been doing regularly, but with some getting out of our routine, we have definitely and adding new things to it, we have definitely got out of this rhythm. So it's reestablishing this rhythm because I know this is one of the biggest things that helps us manage our money together. And next thing, add habit for my management is I am going to do my reset process, right? Which is looking at my statements, looking at what went in, what went out, and starting to adjust and not only my budget, what I call my alignment plan, and in preparation for doing my end of quarter targets. So this is like clear it, transform it, manage it, monthly money mindset review. And that is going to be one of my targets is that I'm actually going to start. I usually do this on a quarterly basis. And now I'm going to start shifting to doing that on a weekly basis as part of my Financial Friday date. So here's my challenge to you. Because here reality is you can't set realistic money targets if you don't have data to work with, or what I refer to as facts to move forward with. So you first need to step number one, like I said, Identify what are some of the habits that you need to stop doing and what are some of the habits that you need to start doing in each area when it comes to clearing or containing your energy, when it comes to money, when it comes to transforming it or creating more of it coming into your life, and the opportunity for you to step into abundance rather than be stuck in scarcity, which is scarcity is more the clear and cut method, the pulling of the weeds, the tilling of the weeds. And both are important, we don't want to get stuck in just pulling weeds instead of and not just planting seeds, right? So the clearing is the removal of the debris, the removal of stuck points, the removal of the weeds, and then the transforming is going to be the planting of the new seeds. And then there's always going to be the management of it. So the management of what you currently have and looking honestly what you currently have so you can then make set targets, which will be another episode. I'll probably go over my setting money targets process next week in preparation for end of year. So this is you to start to really, as scary as that sounds, to like as we're almost 90 days away. We are in the middle of September and we are getting geared up to set our targets for not only fourth quarter, but for the end of the year. And this is game time, right? We're on the field. So I want you to close this episode by asking yourself, what's one financial weed you could pull this week? And then what's one seed that you need to plant to get moving and get harvesting on a different level of fruit in your finances? Thanks so much for listening to the Moms Making Dough. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe so you get our updates as soon as they drop. And if you found this information helpful, please, please, please share it with someone who also can benefit from it as well. And I'll see you next time on Moms Making Dough.